Hello, everyone. How are you today? My name is Emmanuel Babatunde Adebola, and it gives me great pleasure to host this session. I'm hosting two wonderful people, a man and a woman, who ordinarily each of them will be a package, but it just so happens that they are together, they're a couple, and we'll be learning a lot from them. The last time I had this session with them was 6 years ago, to be precise. I was hosting another event then called the J, which is still available. Believe it or not, it's still available in audio. And the funny thing was that the audience for that event alone was fantastic. And so I imagine that there's a lot more people that are looking forward to it. Before I go further, I'd like to let you know what we're doing is we're not playing games. My mission is to ensure that we provide you content that will add value to your life. You know, there are lots of, we're in the information age right now, and there are lots of information that you can access to. But one of the things that my peeve is to just see people sit down, literally just watching things that will not add value to them. One thing I can show you, regardless of where you are on the surface of this earth, by the time you're done with this session, 1 hour session, you will not remain the same. But the good news I have is that this is just the first of 2 parts. So get ready. No matter what we discuss in this session, there's even another session that will be more entertaining, more beautiful. It's going to be full of, all sorts of candor, jokes, things that you can relate with, because these are people I've known for years. And I'm very excited to welcome to this forum Victor Afolabi. He will introduce himself in more detail, and then his dear wife, Adetutu Afolabi. You're both welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So just for introduction, can you please let us know what exactly, because I don't even know how to address you anymore. I know there are many titles. And so who are you today? Because who you are today is different from who you were 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
Okay, so I'm Adetutu Afolabi. I'm an entrepreneur. I run Wellness Healthcare Group. I am also a co-founder of Hazen Holdings. That's a group of company that has interest in marketing, communication, in energy, in healthcare, and distribution. So I'm also a personal freedom coach. I teach people about their emotions and how to use the energy of the emotions to profit them. I recently pivoted into technology. So I'm also a founder of 3 health tech products.
Wow. In all of this, you've not mentioned that you're a pharmacist. That's the amazing thing. Because the last time I knew you were a pharmacist. Well, now obviously you've evolved. So, Chairman,
I'm trained as a pharmacist.
I'm trained as a pharmacist.
No.
And I still practice. I can still prescribe medication.
Okay. That's good. Okay, so you, sir.
Okay. So I will start from where you challenged. So I have a pharmacy background. I was trained also as pharmacist, so we're a pharmacist couple. But I think the last 15 years has seen me on a very different trajectory around the entrepreneurial journey. I think I qualified as a pharmacist over 2 decades ago. My first initial sort of experience, first 5, 6 years post-qualification, were around the industry. And I think in the last, thereabout maybe 15 years, around entrepreneurship has taken me around diverse sectors. I think I've had 4 career changes in my 2 decades of work. So on the average, I spent 5 years in every new career I've been into. So yes, started as a pharmacist, and then joined a top multinational here and worked as a marketing expert, where I was involved in growing brands and implementing marketing strategies across not only the Nigerian market, but some other markets. I think after that, I found myself running marketing communications and advertising firm. And of course, doing strategy consultancy. And of recently, in the last phase of the career change, I found myself in enterprise development, focused majorly on technology and enterprises. So what I do now is I do enterprise, what you call venture development, and that's the passion and the focus. So what do I do as a whole. So to be able to put all this passion together, we co-founded Hazen Holdings, which is a diversified business holdings that looks at 5 sectors. And we call them the 5 impact sectors in Africa, because we want to work in sectors where we can create impact and where our contribution can help move the needle a bit and help improve people's standard of living. So we're big in, we've made significant investment in the last 5-6 years in I think one of the biggest local indigenous energy, renewable energy company, cuts across every kind of energies, where they are providing off-grid power, in-home power. And so we do significant investment in that. We do things in technology space. We've got quite a number of startups that we provide acceleration for, hand-holding for, funding for. A few we funded, a few we've invested in. So we're big in technology. We're big in what you call the marketing and media tech space. So we do things around marketing and media, and of course healthcare, which is our basis. That's where we start from. We're also big on healthcare. So 5, and the final is around things that have to do with agriculture. So we operate in just those 5 key sectors. And of course, verticals. So at times across the vertical chain, you find some other interesting places, white spots, gray areas that are just for opportunities. Because we have a diversified holding company, we're able to play in those places. And so that's what the journey has been in the over 2 decades of being on the street.
Well, now what amazes me is what percentage of all what you've described is done in Nigeria and what percentage is outside of Nigeria?
100%.
Okay, so to a large extent, we've grown quite a lot of our businesses locally in Nigeria here. In the last 5 years, however, we've also done significant business development in the UK. Of course, as investors, not as residents. So we're doing quite a lot around some consultancy and some real estate investments in the UK. We're trying to advance that. Just before the COVID, we were already planning to a large extent, do significant expansion, but I think we got slowed down by COVID in the last 2 years, and we're planning to relaunch. But from a base, most of our business growth, I'll say 95% of all the work we do and all the wealth we create and all the shared prosperity we create from Nigeria.
That was my figure before you said 95%. The reason why it's amazing to me is I was in Nigeria in July. That was my first time after 5 years. And I couldn't wait to leave. I mean, prior to coming to Nigeria, I couldn't wait to arrive. And after I got there, I couldn't wait to return. That's how it was. Because almost everybody I interacted with, I could see some tension. There was tension in the air. And this tension was not so much just security related or the fact that there was a major election coming. It was the fact that people were increasingly fed up with the state and manner of affairs. I could see inflation. I mean, the price of commodities were skyrocketing. I was like, my question was, how are people able to buy bread? A loaf of bread there was 900 or 900, between 900 naira and 1,000.
True.
Yes, for a loaf of bread. And what happened was, now this is where it gets a bit interesting. So I left the country. And there were friends who had sworn to me before that Nigeria is the place. And these same people are now telling me, I'm in the process and I'm leaving. And what amazed me, so this was July of 2022. Sometime around October or November, I was just reaching out. I was saying that things were bad, things were challenging. You know what I was told? They said, today, whatever you saw there is a lot worse now. I said, are you sure? And then I remembered one thing that the pastor of the church where we both attended some years ago, this type of center, Reverend Samade once said that normally when you push people to the wall, they turn and they fight back. But the Nigerians, you push them to the wall, they dig a hole in the and
go on.
How are people, when I hear stories like yours, it then makes me ask, it's not the environment. It's the individual. It's what is inside you. You can't give what you don't have. It's what is inside you that displays. And that's why, I'm a consultant amongst many things. And one of the things I tell people is that it's about personal productivity, inside out. That it's what is inside you that you ultimately display. And so I would like to know, because it's not money. I know by the grace of God, you guys are not poor in any, by any stretch of the imagination. But how is it that you're able to still keep generating these ideas? And if you will, you know, one thing I believe in is playing to your strengths. Is one of you the idea generator and the other person executes, or you won't have capacity to ideate and execute at the same time? How does it work? Maybe you can help me.
Okay, so I can say that our journey it's like it's a co-preneurship journey. So we both have our strengths, and we both have where we know that we request or require some help. So when it comes to idea generation, one of the strengths of Victor is the strategic initiatives in seeing opportunities on time and readily. And that comes from intuition, it comes from pains around that you could gather, and then it comes from you seeing opportunities when people are practically complaining. And when it comes to execution, I'm a process person. I like to break it down and see how we can now achieve what we can achieve. But for both of us could actually generate ideas as well. It's just that and both of us could actually execute, because without execution, there's no point generating ideas. Without execution and without the will to generate then to execute. So somehow it's interwoven. So it's like a symbiotic relationship. So everybody contributes and everybody gains. So that's how I see the relationship when it comes to execution, when it comes to generation of idea. And how do we generate ideas? Just like I said, sometimes it comes with intuition, sometimes there's an opportunity, sometimes there's a pain. And when you look at the pain, you are saying that what opportunity is in this pain? How can we relieve the stress? How can we add value? How can we increase the shared wealth of the people? And what else can be done? So those are the ways in which some of these ideas come to us. Sometimes it comes through discussion with people as well. They just discuss and like, but that's something that someone should be able to do and all that. So that's how those ideas come.
Okay, that's perfect. So, I mean, I understand that. Now, let me make it a bit more practical for people listening, because one of the challenges I have not been able to work effectively with my wife. I'll be honest with you. So, because, you know, not everybody can compartmentalize work and family. And so what I would like you to do is give us, to the extent that is possible, a real life scenario where there was fire on the mountain at home and business had to come. Now, I'm not talking theories now. Let's not, as you've had by now, you have one good case where on a normal day, there was fire, there was issue, there was argument, and yet there was still work. How did you guys, how did that day go? Just a day in the life.
Yes. So I think again, what you need to add to the mix is the fact that we're both pharmacists. Okay. We were also both almost top of our classes when we left the pharmacy school. I'm creating the context. Okay. So you don't have one that is dumb or, you know, something like that. So which makes it tough. We're both pharmacists. We graduated at the same time and we're age mates. Okay. So that gives you the complication, okay? Because, you know, when you're married to your age mate, it's difficult to lord it over. Let's use that again. Yes. And then you both read pharmacy, and then you all were stars in pharmacy school. So it sets the stage for a lot of difficult working environment, okay? Yeah. So to say. And so when I give people that context, you allow them know that, hey, then how are you guys able to navigate? But I think we've been good at being friends, and then build every other thing on friendship, okay? We built family on friendship. We built business on friendship. We understood each other's strengths. And yes, there are times, there are always been disagreements, okay? And there will be disagreements about style, about process, about how things ought to be done. We do not discuss work at work and marriage, we don't do that, so to say. I mean, we discuss work, and just to create another context, we're both PhD candidates together in the same class.
Wow.
So
you guys will not leave each other. Eh?
Yeah, so we're also in the same class, running PhD courses, and all that in the same school, in the same class. Again, it speaks to the fact that every other thing we do, we layer it first on the foundation of friendship. And I think friends disagree. It's always clear that I'm founder, she's co-founder. So, I mean, there are times we have disagreements in the house about things that had nothing to do with work. I will still share strategy sessions and performance review meetings. I will still ask for accountability around departments or companies that she oversees, and she will do that. Along the line, at times, by the time you're through with the board meeting, everybody gets over whatever is the money issue. At times, we have intercoms. We're in the same office, so we work together. It's just the intercom that separates. So at times you pick the intercom and just have a conversation over it. At times you just send a WhatsApp to get over it. At times you buy lunch and send one of the PAs to bring it across to each other. We just learn to, because again, so many things suffers. I do the ideation. She does a lot of financial approvals. I don't approve anything. I'm not that detailed. So if I need to spend any money in my office, if we are not able to talk to her, then we are unable to get the money out. Okay, so that creates complication, and the fight can't stay for long because our operations are intertwined. So yes, there are times where we're not in talking terms from the house, but because there's just too many things. I mean, not in talking terms, everybody goes their way, blah, you're mad and everything. But you get to work, because our work is so intertwined. She needs to do some approvals. The approvals are delaying. I need to pick the phone to say, hey, you need to release it from your workflow and things like that. The fact that work comes in, I start having work, somehow that just fizzles out. That seems to be what I really remember around how we've worked and how we get to do issues. Well, she might have a deeper context of what she remembers.
Before she talks, I used to attend this type of session, and Reverend Sam, when he preaches, he'll just give you straight. But I love when his wife preaches, because the wife will give you the back end, just like you said now. You've made it. So I'll be interested in knowing her, because she will give
wider perspective. Okay.
I hope I'll be able to give a wider perspective. But the truth about it is, even though we've been very good friends, and we share knowledge together. So if I believe in something, one of the things, the foundation of our relationship is we read the same book. So so we get exposed to the same information. If there's a movie I learned from, I want to make sure that he watches the movie as well. So that shared information also gives a soft landing to whatsoever association that we want to have with ourselves at the workplace. And I'll also say that it was not very easy initially, because of course, both men and women are emotional. Yes. But when it comes to work, the logical reasoning of men takes more over emotions. And for me, because I'm more emotional or material in nature, because I'm a mom or a parent, it's you want to accommodate more things than a man. Yeah. And sometimes we have frictions. We've had frictions that sometimes it's from work to the house, sometimes it's from the house to the office. And it took a lot of understanding for me to say that, okay, so the first thing is trying to understand who a man is at work, so that you are not getting in his way. Yeah. And so I guess that's one of the things that helped me. Who is a man at work? So I'm like, the guy is asking for this. I'm like, I'm your wife now. Why are you stressing me? That's not who he is at work. He doesn't want you to be his wife at work. He wants you to be the executive director. He wants you to be accountable. He wants you to say, this is how far I've done with this and all that. It's not a bedroom talk. And I had to come to terms with that. And I had to come to terms with that early enough. And I think that's why it's somehow it looks so easy now, but it's a lot of intentional living for both of us. And sometimes when he wants to get mad as well, he's like, okay, I'm not supposed to get mad that way. After all, you know, so I think it has to do with the way we now coach our emotions as well, to say that even though we're husband and wife, we're husband and wife, whether at work or at home, it's just that the roles change in both places, and each person needs to know the boundary of the roles and how you can play the role without hurting the other guy. So that's how we've been able to survive.
Beautiful. Did you arrive at this based on just introspection, or did you get help from any? And is this not for me? It's for anybody who's watching. Did you arrive at this?
I read a lot. I read a lot. So I'm someone that get help from reading. Okay. Not necessarily talking with anybody. So I get a lot of help from reading. I do a lot of self-reflection too as well. When I see friction or conflict, I just want to understand why there's a conflict and how I should avoid further conflict. So I think that's one of the things that helped me. So it's not that I really visited some mentors or someone to coach me. I read about working together with your husband. I read about my own name. I try to understand my own emotions. I try to understand what gets me angry. I told him about the way he talks to me that I do not like and I do not want. And, you know, even if you're saying we're in the office, it's supposed to be a logical, yes, we're in the office, but when it comes to this, I'll appreciate if these are the things if these are the ways you go about it and all that. So those are the things that happened. But it wasn't very easy initially, but now it's easy peasy.
Do you do recreation together? Well, like when you're not working or at home, do you do any form of recreation together?
So he does. We do some things together. We watch movie together. We go out to watch movie. We stay indoor to watch movie. So there are some other things that makes it easy. You know, when both of you have the same interest.
Yes.
So both of us, we gist a lot.
Okay.
So we desire each other's company a lot. So if I'm going through stress, I just want to call him first. It's just the first person I want to call. And you know, the same goes. So I think because we have same interest, we love same things. I think that's one of the reasons we love to listen to comedy sessions together. So if I'm watching on my phone, I'm sharing with him, he's also sharing with me. So we have same interests. We love to read books, we love knowledge, and yes, we love to care for family as well. So it's not like you want to go out, somebody's saying, why are you going out? Sometimes we're even going out together to those places. But he play golf. I've tried. He actually wanted me to start playing golf as well, but I told him I don't like to do things in the sun. So that was why I didn't join in playing golf. I would have been playing golf because it's playing golf. As in, I was really ready to do that so that we can have more time to spend together. We do exercise together. So the days one of us is not feeling fine, then there is no exercise for the two of us. Is that bad?
There's a term I've coined. Its root stems from the Bible. It's a lady called Ruth. There's a nickname they call Abokoku. And I see that in your own case, I have friends. When I see this trend where a woman loves her husband, a friend of mine now interpreted, I said, it's not Abokoku, it's Abokoyi. So I'm seeing that
Yes, I have friends that call me Roots. Really, recently we met. We went to see a friend, and he was introducing me to his wife, and he said, "Meet Adetutu. We call her Roots." I said, "You guys used to call me Roots? I didn't even know." He said, "Yes, we call you Roots." That's how he introduced me to his wife. So people call me that, but I think well, it's one of the things God tells me to do. Love your husband.
So how long has this relationship been? If you could give it, how many decades? You don't need to give us a particular.
So we've been friends. We've been friends for 20 years and 7 months.
Wow. You even got to the number. How many days? Maybe hours. Wow, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
So we've been friends for 20 years and 7 months. Wow. And we've been married for 17 years and 2 months. Wow. Or 3 months.
God blessings. The Ogatu remembers the details. You know, the funny thing is that I came to know your husband accidentally. Years ago, I was in a group, they called it, an investment group. And I just went to that meeting reluctantly that evening in Lagos. But I could see one guy seemed to have more understanding than all of us. So the person organizing the program, God bless his soul. So he's a mentor of mine. He just told me, look at this guy. He looks like this guy has a, you better join that group. So that's how I joined the group. And one of the things we did in the group, and of course, your husband was the chairman of the group. One of the things I enjoyed initially was that we determined that every meeting we'll be having food, something to eat. So my initial attraction, I'll be very honest with you, was something that was what was motivating me. But later I just realized that every week, it was like your husband will wake up he will wake up with new ideas. What's wrong with this? Are you the only one? So that fascinated me. And you know, the truth is that biologically, I'm older than him. We each will enter the same secretary. You know what? I dropped the cap off. I became a boy. I said, God, if it's because that's when I learned that your biological age has nothing to do with it. When you see somebody who has woken up, you better, like, there's a, I don't know which of the Nigerian actors, Bodo Mote, Luluwa Dalola, Ejeka Ponle. I don't know who sang that song, but it's something that rings with that. You better forget, because there are some people, you see, one of the reasons why...
Your generation will be used to those kind of songs than mine.
Well, I'm not that old, man. What's wrong with you? But the thing is, you see, some people, unfortunately, they carry that seniority mantle for life. I was 2 years ahead. So the time that if, for instance, somebody else evolves, rather than accept, embrace, learn, and move on, they still want to be Oga. They want to be respected. They want to, and that limits them from enjoying the privilege of somebody that has, and that's a mixture. So, for instance, I'm reading a book, for instance, this is Elon Musk. The reason I started reading this book is because I found out that me personally of late, you know, there have been some developments in my life where I'm thinking faster than I used to. I had some experience, and it's gotten to the stage where a number of my friends made me feel like I was mentally unwell. And so when I read this man's book, he said he got to a stage where at the age of 5, he just realized that he was different from everybody around him, and that he used to think he was strange. So now I realize that it's okay to be strange. Yeah, it's okay to be different, because that's probably what you need. Because my friends, I'm in a group. My secondary school colleagues recently told me, please reduce your. Thank you, but reduce it. It's becoming too much. And I was like, I have a lot more. In fact, this people didn't know that this was just one of many groups I was in. So that's something that so when I see things like what your husband really didn't just start yesterday. I don't know if I've ever told you before. There's nothing you achieve in life that will surprise me. And I'm being very honest. If you become Elon Musk tomorrow, it's not so. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not a.
Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, one thing is.
Thank you.
I wrote a social. I do write-ups. I wrote about you. I disguised this. I don't even know if you've ever read it. I called it.
I didn't read it.
I wrote about 4 parts. I definitely didn't talk to you about it because it was not hero worship. It was not. But this was my reflection on you as a person. I don't know if your wife ever saw it. I wrote a 4-part series.
No, I'll go look for it, but I didn't see it.
I definitely didn't. If not that, if I didn't even remember, because this was just my observation of. I called the lessons from. I don't remember the title, but I refer to you as being using then because I didn't want the people to look at you. Because you know, in this life, you don't know who you start getting. You mean it for good. Somebody else will see it now, and suddenly, see how people think. Instead of going to learn and focus on the positive, they'll start thinking of how to obtain. So I wanted to preserve your life. And that's why I didn't call the name. I just used it.
Go and look for it.
It was a 4-part series, and a lot of people read it, and if I see it, I don't even know what month or year. I wrote it sometime last year, you know, and I'm really impressed.
Thank you.
My question is, what would you say to the Nigerian who seems not to have hope? Because your wife wrote something recently about Japa. The concept in Japa means The idea of running up. Most people I know see Nigeria as a boiling kettle that you need to run before things get spoiled completely. But she made a very beautiful statement along the fact that she, unlike other people, is not necessarily discouraging people, but she'll say, be a good ambassador of
wherever you are.
Wherever you go. And I like that because I've also listened to a number of ministers, pastors, who, in their bid to encourage their congregation to stay in Nigeria, now start painting funny stories about the fact that people who travel out, they run into trouble. There's no, yes, people may run into trouble, but there are people making it well. So let's not, I prefer a balanced message. And that's why I like your wife's conclusion that be an ambassador wherever you go. But I'd like you to also help those who are, because I don't want people in Nigeria to be thinking that there's no, people who cannot necessarily go, what should they do? How you guys, because you guys have the privilege to live anywhere in the world. But so your staying in Nigeria is by choice and not because you don't have, so what's the mindset?
Thank you so much. And I mean, the first person ever asking me this, but basically, I think what I see working with people, mentoring people, and my new role as venture development person means I get to now work with founders. So now I get to coach and hold people who own their own companies. But basically, what I've seen is that people need to understand how they function in an environment. And I'll use a typical example of how I read through school from secondary to university. I can't read if the place is too quiet. I'll sleep. So the problem is when you read with me, you likely fail because I'll be gisting, I'll be reading music and all that. The exams will come out, I'll come up with an A because I don't bother. If there's so much music and everything, I can sleep. I can't be bothered. So a lot of external things don't get into my inner soul space or my ability to understand things. That tells me about my self-awareness and self-knowledge, okay, of how I function. The decision for where people choose to operate from is to a large extent a function of their cognitive abilities and the environment in which they function best. Okay. Nigeria is a typical environment that is extremely chaotic and is marred by severe institutional voids. If you are a natural process person, it's not an environment to thrive. Okay? Because it's filled with constraints, it's filled with institutional voids, it's very chaotic, highly uncertain, very unpredictable. If you are not somebody that has that close to an artistic capability to pull form together out of formlessness, it's a difficult place to operate. Again, I would say you're able to pull form together out of formlessness. You are able to see a pattern out of chaos. You're able to look into the skies as scattered and can see how they are arranged, which is your cognitive ability or the way you naturally learn or thrive or grow. You might find it a bit difficult. Okay. However, there are some people who naturally are process people, who like things clear, who hate ambiguity. And based on that, they are able to naturally excel and do very well. Then for such people, you find that clear, stable economies where they know the price of things, they know when the train will arrive, they know when the bus will leave, they will just generally thrive. So again, I'm not an advocate of where people live, whether you stay or wherever and everything. I'm not an advocate. I'm an advocate of being located where you function best. When my wife was speaking initially about process, she's likely to be able to do well outside the country because she's very processed, she's very methodological and all those things. I'm not, okay? I'm this idea guys that, and she knows there are times if you come have a conversation with me and my ideas start coming, I will say all those things that can really transform everything. The next minute you ask me why I said I've forgotten. So that's how bad she is. So she takes note of that and says, once we throw a problem or a question with you to you at a board meeting or an MPR and you go, this is the way you guys should solve it. She quickly captures it because the next minute I can't replicate it. That's how I get it. But she's extremely methodological. And so when I talk to people who struggle with the chaotic environment, working in a structured environment will help them work. And let's look at it again. Quite a number of people survive very well in structured multinational companies and don't do well in entrepreneurship. And a lot's happened in the country. Most of my alumni of where I worked in a very structured top multinational, when they come out to want to be entrepreneurs and all that, they struggle. When you go to work for smaller companies or SMEs or companies that are not structured, they struggle because their way of working, they already know this should happen, this is the sequence and all that. So they struggle in the entrepreneurial place because of the maze. And so it's, again, supporting what she said. It's irrespective of the environment. It's a function of wherever you are, strive for excellence, strive to excel, strive to stand for something, live beyond the life of mediocrity, try to live the life of impact. Don't be complacent because you can now pay your bills, live in one house and eat 3 square meals, then it's the end of life. I'm not sure that was why we were created. We were created to solve bigger problems beyond ourselves. And that for me is the clarion call. I see quite a lot of friends who live in very developed environments. And I see that when they move at times, they lose that zeal of wanting to change the world and of shifting boundaries. They just settle into the complacency and the
working environment.
The working environment. They go into the meal and the grinding meal. And I said, this, you are more than this. Again, I keep telling them, I keep telling them, you are more than this. Very easy for you to settle in. Everything is predictable. Interest is 3%. Mortgage can be paid. Salaries come on the 25th. You pay your bills on the 29th. Everything is just, and years goes upon years. And I keep saying you are more than this. You are more than paying bills, waking up to pay bills, okay? So that's what I challenge people. And it's not so much about where you stay, whether Dubai or the rest. So that's what we say. But again, on the final note, there's a concept me and my wife always talk about every time. And I think for people, the most important thing is the concept of access. And if people understand that concept of access, it makes life easy. It's about develop yourself to the extent where you have access to anything, which means you can wake up and be in the UK. You can afford to be in the US. You can afford to live anywhere, ride any car, do anything. Develop that ability to wake up and say, I have a meeting in Toronto and you can be there. That's what I think as people develop, they should develop that level of access because ultimately it leads to freedom and you begin to live for who you are. So I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, because I want and choose to be there. But I have access to so many countries in the world that I can live, I can work, I can thrive. That takes you to a new level of evolving where your problem-solving skills are no longer formed by the environment. It opens you up to who God really thinks you should be. You become more creative. You stop seeing boundaries and limitations around that. So that's, again, I know it was quite a lot of talking and dishing out, but that's you're the first person asking me, that's how I see little conversation around Japa, where people live, where people stay. It's more around where they function.
Excellent. Do you want to add anything? What was your thought process? Anything you want to add? Because he's done a very good job.
Okay, so you asked a question about how do people get hope?
Yes.
So hope is an internal thing.
Okay.
Hope is not external. And you get hope when you are also able to define your own freedom, what success means to you.
Yeah.
You see, it's easier to actually look at everybody and say that you're not successful. And it's easier to look at everybody and say, this is how much God has created and I'm grateful for it. So hope is internalized. I know that Nigeria is a very tough place to live.
Okay.
And it's actually becoming tougher daily.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things are not working. Truth. A lot of things are not working. But I remembered in 2005 when we got married, I was watching something on the TV in Ibadan then. We started from Ibadan. And the Chinese man said, Nigerians, they're always looking up. We Chinese, we're looking down into Nigeria. And I called him, I said, come and see this Chinese man. Why are we always looking up and they are looking down? And if you look at, even if you look at the chains of supermarkets in Nigeria, look at so many things, the industries that they are owned by Indians, they're owned by Lebanese, they're owned by Chinese. Yes, we can say a lot of things about they having more advantage, you know, the source of income, the source of capital and all that they have from. But there's something other people are saying that we might not be saying. And because we're fixated on what is not working. even in your personal life, if you're fixated on what is not working, you'll be so frustrated.
Right.
But if you start from what is working, you can now begin to say that these ones that are not working, how can I survive through it? So I think that a lot of us can do some internalization and self-reflection and look inward as well when it comes to hope in Nigeria. I'm not saying Nigeria is a very tough place to be in, and it takes the strong-hearted to survive in Nigeria. But it also is, we also need to look inward and ask ourselves that, should I continue to fix my attention on what is not working, or look at how I can survive even though things are not working around me? And that's the essence of people having borehole in their houses because government did not bring water. Yes. People have generators because there is no life. A lot of so the same way we solve those things, the same way we need to look at it as well, because it's not everybody that can. And that's why sometimes people that cannot japa feel left behind. Yep. They feel that God is not with them. They feel that some other people are leaving them in this suffering and living. So it's beyond that, and it's an internal conversation.
Yes.
So hope is an internal conversation, and you need to define it so that you can flourish in the environment where you are.
Yeah. I like the dimension you've taken, because I have a personal story. I have a friend who I'll call a brother, but so what happened is that we were in the same unit in my church, and for the longest part, he's always wanted to travel out, which is a noble idea. But he had a limitation. I think he was not able to achieve it. So along the line, I spoke with him sometime last year, toward the end of last year. And I spoke to him, hey, how are you? How you doing? I catch up with him every night. So initially I wanted to go to the US. Now he's changed to wanting to come to Canada because I live in Canada. I said, what can you do? So I asked him, so what's been happening to you? And then he told me that a mutual friend of ours had actually been kind enough to send him to a school. That school is in Via. I don't know what school it is. But supposedly that school was supposed to build capabilities in him, make him well-rounded. And I was enjoying the story until he said, but after that, I'm still waiting, nothing. That's when I said, no, brother. This one has come to an end. And it brought me to what you just said. You see, he had so much developed his mind to only focus on what was not working. All of the assets and knowledge and the ability to sit under a church like this time and listen to all the messages was thrown down. It was always, what is not working? What is not working? So I told him, look, I'm not going to call you again, because because of him, I said, with his permission, I have an Instagram, follow it, Today Adebola. I actually did an Instagram video because of him. I said, I'm not to respond to you, but I won't respond to you. I will respond to everybody who thinks like you. That you always tell stories. And I told him, I can predict that 5 years from now, if I call you, you will still find a story to tell. Because you have made up your mind that it's storytelling. And recently I also do articles. I said, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who get the job done, and there are those who look for who to blame. Who are you? Because the whole idea is that some people just love, it's my father's fault. No, it's because my mother it's because the boss, it's because that, and as long as you continue to escape, it's called escaping responsibility. You will not go far. You will always blame the environment. Someone else is responsible, not you. And that's a dangerous problem. The major advantage you guys have is you've taken responsibility for the change that you desire to see. And that's the starting point. Accepting responsibility that this thing is bad, but guess what? I will make it happen. Within the little influence that I have, and that's the starting point. But the one that continues to blame the president, blame the party, will remain like that. The other thing I want to address is what your husband talked about earlier, which I like, which is that one thing that amazes me, like you said, is there are people who come to the West or different countries and they are satisfied with just showing pictures. This is how we are now. Here's our house. They bought, they are satisfied with just crossing over and being part of the milling machine. They never do anything. And what also, I also wrote about that sometimes. What also amazes me, some people, they cross over to the West, like North America, where I am, and their community of association is just with Nigerians. So their mindset remains localized. They're just the Department of Nigeria in North America. You leave seas and you cross over, and your thinking, your mindset. I'm talking of the church. I'm not even talking of just other, even within the church. There are many churches here that are just department of Nigerian church here. And so you see the church, most of the members of the church are Nigerian. You see cliques, some similar things that you notice back home. You see them here. And just say, wow. Is this all you can do? Is this all what you aspire to? I want more. In fact, the things I do now, the moment, because I do a number of things, the moment I see that the proportion of Nigerians is more than 30%, I tell myself I need to work hard to counter, because I don't want a Nigerian parapet here. I did not come all the way here to become another Nigeria. I love my country, but I want to think internationally, because that's how we must think and we must operate. And that's very, very fundamental. And that's how you can grow, because you take the good about Nigeria. Let me tell you one thing I think is good about Nigeria. We have social interaction. That for me is a great strength. I'm able to build relationships. That's something that I try to leverage. But there are also myths that we have. For instance, one of the myths I think works against us, I was talking about earlier about Wenga, is that when two people with Africa, I won't just call Nigeria, I've seen Nigeria, typical Africa is predominantly without Africa. When two of us are talking, and I think I'm your senior, either by title, by age, or by whatever, what happens is that as you and I are talking, I'm very sensitive to the fact that I want you to respect me. So I'm looking for anything that will make you, if this guy disrespects me, if this guy should disrespect, it doesn't matter what I say, but just don't disrespect me. And then what happens is that if you are the soft one, because you don't want to disrespect me, you just say nicely, you just dance around it. And what happens is that when you have a brilliant idea, because you don't want to offend me, guess what? You keep your idea. I will spend 2 hours talking, but guess what? We're talking about my idea. So the outcome of that long session will be the product of the idea of the superior partner, not necessarily the most superior idea that is on ground. And that's why Africa is. And that's why I wrote an article about this man, Elon Musk. I said, how old is Elon Musk? And one of the things I said, because I looked at his life, this man was born in Pretoria, South Africa. His mom was Canadian. He, at some point, emigrated to Canada, was in Canada for a while, and then moved to North America, US, where he stayed. And what I'll say is that it's a question I've not been able to answer. If Elon Musk were in Africa, would he be able to get to it? Because they will slap him. They will slap the stranger. They'll say, this guy, he's obnoxious. He's whatever. They will shut him down.
Yeah.
I have members, there's a member of my family that has called me to say, Tunde, all these things you are doing, stop them. I have a man who came to me, had a meeting, to stop all these things you have, because as far as they're concerned, this boy is his own is too much. You're everywhere. You're everywhere. They don't know that I'm just starting. You're everywhere. Just sit down. Because you see, what we cannot understand, we mystify. We try to suppress. We try to kill. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why Africa is where it is.
It's an African mindset.
It's sad.
It's an African mind. It's an African way of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's culture. One of the things people need to overcome as they grow and evolve is to break cultures, conditionings, and dominant logics. No matter where people go to or where people live, whether the UK, the US, Dubai, Ghana, or wherever, if you do not break, or you live in Nigeria, if you do not break the dominant logic or the culturalization that you have, you will still be the same person. So you can find that people are the same, whether they're in Lagos or Canada, if they have integrity issues, if they think if they think about I'm older than you, why should you say that? If they still think in that very dominant logic and culture that holds development and engagement back, that will still be who they are, despite the fact that they live in industrialized environments. So again, it's about people transforming themselves, re-challenging their dominant logics, exposing them, choosing to be vulnerable, to learn, to be transformed, to be helped, to believe that they're just starting, they need to do and grow. I think when we do, when people are that open to things, it becomes a lot easier for us to grow and pick up cultures. that helps the development of ourselves, our organizations, our families, and where we are. And of course, cultures that we drop cultures that also don't make sense. So let me give you a typical example. I'm in Nigeria, and it's expected that if you're in Nigeria and you're married, you should sit down, cross your leg, and your wife does everything. Okay. Yeah. It's a proper African thing. Okay, but you're in the UK, you guys will learn to share your chores and housework and everything. We're in Nigeria, but we share house chores. So I come home early yesterday, had my lunch and everything. There were dishes in. I do the dishes. I arrange the dishes. I mop the floor and all that. I sit down. I get to study. And then she comes home. She joins me. What's happening and all that. What's for lunch? We move on from there. It's an open-mindedness of cooperation in marital relationship. It's not a marital relationship of there's a slave and there's a master, or this is a man's job, that's a woman's job. We don't approach it that way, okay? My leg is aching me, she does all the driving. It's that same way, and it's a culture of...
I just know that I'm clapping for you guys, because you guys are operating on
yeah, so it's a culture of openness, okay? We both are doing PhD, so I can't be more busy than her, and she has to do all the work. There are times she sends me on groceries and I need to go out and get the groceries, which are things that I say, if you are in the West, your wife will be sending you on errand. Man, somebody needs to get the groceries. We don't have any house help, so it's just two of us in the whole house. And so we have to do the chores together. So again, it's about opening yourself to learn things that make you better, make your relationships better, make your firms better, drop the things that hold you back. Whether in Canada, Nigeria, or wherever, it's more around the values we imbibe and the kind of life we choose to live and being intentional about our living. That for me is the most important based on wherever we live and whatever we do, my opinion.
Wow, that's remarkable. See the woman smiling at grinning from ear to ear. No wonder you're rude. Now why will you not be rude? God has given you a wonderful husband. That's why you're rude. But it's beautiful. I like what I'm hearing. And you know what you just described is actually the mindset of people who are thriving. I look at Barack Obama, for instance. I remember him saying one day that when he was being, vying for the first time, and he said there were days where he would be on the campaign tour, and the wife would call him, we need eggs, we need this, we need he was like, what's wrong with this lady? This one doesn't. But that's because these guys are very simple. They've taken out the complexity, regardless of where they get to, it doesn't get into them. And I love that. One of the things I'm praying is that, and I'm saying this from the depth of my heart, one of my prayers also is that even the Church of God in Nigeria, will transition into a place where we also demonstrate the right behaviors. Let me give you an example. I'm here in Canada, for instance. Would you believe that I find it easier to see, I attend different churches. Let me just make it simple because I don't want to mention any names. I find it easier to see the pastor that is Caucasian than it, without any ceremony, without anything, than it is to see the one that is of Nigerian origin. And yes, the anointing over one is not more than the other. But we tend to turn our pastors into demigods. We venerate them. We make them feel. So that's why even when they make mistakes, it's difficult for them to come to earth. And so we also wonder, why are these people not? Because the place where we have elevated them, we've even almost elevated them beyond Jesus Christ. And that's a concern I have for the Nigerian church. The pastor should be a pointer to Jesus, not the end. And so I see pastors giving impression, celebrity status, wanting to look big, and I'm like, you people, you are misrepresenting the man. Because Jesus, we had access. You used the word access earlier. We could access him. Look at the woman with the issue of blood. She was able to touch something. This one, you can't touch them. They are untouchable. They talk big, they act big. I'm like, please. I want a person I can relate with. And so for me, it's not enough to just talk about people who come to work and fall into this. Even the church. Let's have the right example. Let's set the right standard. We are very religious. We're not spiritual. Religious cultures and traditions. That's why people are stuck.
The cultures. It's cultures. It's the cultures. I think the cultures are quite dominant, quite strong, and until people challenge some of those cultures,
the culture of the environment.
If you understand the upstate skills of culture, there's something called power distance. The power distance in the African setting is so dramatic. So we carry the power distance to our politicians; they can't take feedback. We carry the power distance to church. The power distance was where you explained. Oh, he was my junior in school. Don't say good morning, even if there are things you can share that is beneficial, because you feel, how will I present it to this person as my senior? It's that power distance thing. How do you present it to a pastor, a church? How do I even explain to my husband? Their husbands who their wives can't give feedback. So they have no accountability partners.
I was celebrating your wife because I see that she's happy. Because you come down to you are not an African husband.
So when they are not, when the power distance is too high, it can be inhibiting. In families, for example, among siblings, there's high power distance. The dominant thing is that you are firstborn, then you must be the most successful of that. And at times, God doesn't do things that way. So you begin to see high conflict, high sibling rivalry, because the oldest is not the richest. Again, it's a cultural thing. It is the power distance that is expected across all locations. So, and we brought it into church. We brought it into the workplace, where people can share ideas with CEOs, or they need to carry people's bags and all that. So, and that's why we have these also glorified political office holders who are supposed to be servants, but yet people over glamorize them. So I think it's an African culture which is embedded in our power distance matrix, and until people are deliberate and intentional about lowering the power distance such that communication flow is better, information asymmetrism is managed, you will find out that we don't get the right development and the right growth we should have, whether in organization, or in families, or in relationships, or in the nation. It's not going to happen.
The culture, you need to understand that the culture of the culture that holds us together is actually stronger than, so that's why even some people, they read abroad, they lived abroad, and when they come back, you cannot say different. Everything is just the same. And you're wondering, has this guy been living? Okay, so this guy has gone out. Was he not exposed to other things that is being done everywhere? You know, we're complaining about politicians. A lot of them are well read. But the culture is dominant. The Nigerian culture is so dominant, and it takes preeminence over every other thing. So that is why you're seeing what you're seeing and all that. Also, until we begin to write a new narrative and change those cultures, we're going to be here for a very long time.
The first way is to acknowledge that it's a challenge, and I think that's what we'll be able to do in this session. And I'm hoping that many people, I hope this becomes it goes viral, this video, because I'm going to, so what I'm doing differently this year, what the mandate, the journey I have is that I've done different videos that I know are valuable, but this year I'm going to be more deliberate. I'm starting with a channel on YouTube called Tudosco Media, and I'm harvesting all of the things I've done. I'm putting them there, and I'm going on a strong campaign to let people know that, look, there's none of these videos that you watch, including the one we did together 6 years ago. I'm going to put it there. The only difference the only thing is some of them, the production, you also start small. The production may not be, but if you just listen to the content, I can assure you, because you guys said one of the things there, I can assure them that they will be blessed. And then evolve, and my plan is to evolve from that to Roku. I'll be getting a station in channel in Roku. And so it's a gradual step. And my mission is one, provide an alternative. It's not enough to say this is not good, this is not good. Question is, what should people do? And that's pretty much. So I want to really thank you guys. Like I said, viewers, this is just the first of a two-part series. These guys are that. You see, I had questions. I've only taught two out of, and I'm not surprised, because when people are flying, it's not by guesswork. It's because they have things, and they're even telling me now that they're also doing PhD. So the one that is running after them, you better calm down, because if it's by competition, you wear yourself out. And I'm impressed that I don't know what is it that is motivating you guys to be on. Maybe if we can close on that note. What is it that gives you that desire to keep pushing on? What is it? Is it helping? What excites you? Or do you, because at times you maybe didn't are not even recognizing. What is it? Have you been able to identify it? Have you?
I think one of the fundamentals of why we are where we are is the fact that I've made up my mind to make a difference.
Okay.
And that's why I'm different. I do not follow the crowd, and the applause of people do not. Okay, so I grew up. My mom used to tell me that entoban wo cooking wo. So if no matter the applaud, no matter what I have, no matter what I've achieved, no matter how I see myself, is never my focus. I just want to keep making a difference. And in making a difference, you need to keep working hard to make a difference, because whatever difference you make today becomes still tomorrow.
Yes.
And that means that you have to keep equipping yourself. You have to keep, you have to double up on your exposure, on the knowledge that you acquire. You need to unlearn, you need to relearn, you need to upskill, you need to do a lot of self-reflection, and you need to keep focus on the goal. So the goal is to make a difference as a wife, to make a difference as a mom. I get feedback from my children because I want to make a difference as a mom, to make a difference as a boss, to make a difference, even in the social value things that I have to, I have to do. So the idea is just to make a difference. I want to make a difference. I have been to this world. I don't want to go back to my Lord saying that, oh, Nigeria was too tough, I couldn't find my bearing. I want to say that in spite of the fact that Nigeria was tough, and these are the things I've been able to accomplish. And, just like I was telling you, I was trying to check up on someone today, and I said, oh, this is the first person I told about my stewardship journey. So I have an account to render to someone after all this journey, and I better do it well so that whatever rendering I'm doing makes sense. So that is the idea. So that's one of the things that makes me
that's beautiful.
Operate at this level.
That's beautiful. I think you've spoken for both of you, because I would imagine that Victor also has similar.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
This is just first
and thanks for having us. Yeah, thank you.
I look forward to the second part, but I'm trusting that this will go around, because, and folks, please, when you watch this, if you know anybody that would benefit from this, please share. Like I said, whatever we discuss today is not a Nigerian. This is a discussion by Nigerians, but these principles operate anywhere on the surface of this earth. And it's my hope that as you watch it, you'll be challenged, you believe that you take the things that are applicable in your own scenario. And all I can wish this couple is best wonderful days ahead. This year is going to be great, no doubt about that.
Amen.
Because
Amen.
your success is not a function of the environment. You succeed in spite of the environment. In fact, if you want to borrow a leaf from the Bible, in Isaiah 60 verse 2, it says, darkness, gross darkness shall cover the earth, but upon you there shall be light. So the environment is no longer your issue. You have no choice. And you're flying, and I just wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Invite it. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.